Hey everybody, it's What's Up Mike. It is Tuesday, April 21st, and it feels like some form of explosion went off in my lower back. I've got old injuries coming up, and it's the result of my overactive quarantine workouts. But I've got a plan. This has happened before. Thanks, Army. Yeah, so getting into it with the injuries, I have a back injury. It feels like my back exploded. But, that's pretty normal, I think, for someone who's been athletically active for a few decades. I have a herniated L5S1 disc and a herniated L4-L5 disc. The doctor, delicately put it that it looks like someone put my L5S1 disc on the counter. It looks like somebody put an egg on the counter and smashed it with a hammer, is what he said. Just splattered everywhere. So it's pretty ugly. And a few years ago, I had massive sciatica issues with it, to the point where I couldn't get in and out of cars under my own power. I was just quitting that job. Fall 2016, 4 years ago. Yep, the memory still works a little bit. So I had enough pain that I couldn't get out of cars, in and out of my car under my own power. Massive sciatica problems, like shooting like car battery shock down the right leg. And so it's the disc. When a disc herniates, the disc itself comes, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it basically comes out from in between the two, like parts of it squish out from in between the two vertebrae, and the parts of that disc that squish out like that or inwards push on different nerves, and that causes problems and pain in different areas. And then as those two vertebrae come closer and closer together or contact each other, there's pain and problems that result from that. So I stopped. It got to the point, I'm a huge fan of squats and deadlifts, and it got to the point where I had to stop all heavy squats and deadlifts because of, every single workout would cause significant inflammation and pain and time off. It seems to make sense. But if you do the things correctly when not inflamed, and avoiding numbers and weights that cause you to compromise form, those movements can actually have a significant stabilizing and strengthening effect on the area. And so it just takes me not being overactive. But it feels like it's on fire right now. Jesus. And it's because of my stupid quarantine workouts. So getting back into how this happened, I was an infantry officer for 10 years in the Army, and that, best job ever. But it involves lots of carrying a heavy backpack for long distances. 65 pounds is a pretty normal weight. Weights go up to 110, 115 pounds as well. But for the most part, if you've got body armor and a full combat load or a rucksack, for a tactical operation, 65 pounds is a pretty safe bet. The standard, kind of the gold standard of distance, is 12 miles. That's the tested distance for expert infantryman's badge and a few other different things. The Ranger School ruck march test, the timed one is 12 miles. There's most special operations selection courses have a timed 12-mile ruck march. And for the most part, the expert infantryman's badge, I think it's 35 pounds. But for the most part, some of the more difficult, the Ranger School ruck march, things like that, are 55, 65 pounds. So that's a common fixture in the job. And in those timed events, you run. It's not a ruck march. It's not in formation. Lots and lots of the training and, tactical training is walking in tactical formations, in tighter formations on the road, different scenarios like that. But when you do these timed events, it's actually a race, and you're racing against the clock, racing against whoever else in the selection course, whatever it is. And so you run, and everyone that is finishing well in those events is running for nearly the entire event. And so running with weight on your back like that is absolutely terrible for your lumbar spine over the long term. And we can see that manifest in my L4, L5, and L5S1 discs. And then also I was on airborne status. I was a paratrooper in the 173rd Airborne Brigade. For a few years, I commanded a company there, and I also had a parachute malfunction. These are all the cool jobs, too. Like, all the cool jobs get you hurt in the Army, but, God, they're cool as shit. So I would absolutely go back and do the exact same jobs, go to the same tryouts and selection, do all the same shit just to try and do the same thing over again if that was the chance, because it's the best job ever. So all the awesome shit injures you. And when I was in the 173rd, I believe I was a company commander at the time, I had a parachute malfunction on a jump. It was a complete inversion, so the chute did have some lift capability, but it was something like half. I don't really know. It's hard. I mean, it's impossible to calculate after the fact at this point, especially. But we had some helmet cam footage. My helmet cam had, footage of me looking up into the risers, trying to fix the inversion. And when the chute, if you've got your little paratrooper here and the chute's above him, and the chute, as it's opening, it flips inside out. And so I'm doing hand motions on video as if anybody can decipher that silly shit. But the chute flips inside out and then inflates. And so it's an inflated chute. It's the same surface area of material. The problem, though, is that the risers are kind of tangled from the inversion. They cross and they get tangled and they stay together higher up. So the risers don't actually allow the chute to fully inflate. It's more domed, more collapsed in its formation. I did more hand motions, so if you watch YouTube, you can see that. But so basically, it just doesn't have as much inflation, and it's a little bit more collapsed, and so you fall faster. And so I think I had somewhere like 30, 40, 50, 60% lift capability, something like that. Super hard to tell when you're falling. But I was the jump master on that pass. So with military airborne operations, and this was a training jump, not like a tactical jump. I think it was a day equipment jump, but on each pass, the plane has paratroopers exiting from both sides of the aircraft, one every half second. Every second on each door, and they're offset by a half second is the ideal situation. And so the jump master is the guy standing, looking out the door as the paratroopers go in front of him, and that person is the one that kind of monitors the door, is in control of the door, is giving the instructions to all of the paratroopers, is the one that says the initial go when the green light happens. So I was that jump master in the aircraft on this jump, and so I was the last one out the door. So you yell go, slap the number one jumper on the ass, he jumps, everybody goes out, the safety's collecting the static lines because you're hooked up to the plane pulls the chute for you, and so I see the last jumper go, then I jump out. And so there's this line of paratroopers in the sky where the plane just flew. I was the last one in that line, but I was the first one to hit the ground by a long time. So I could see myself falling significantly faster than everyone around me. And, jump masters get that extra bit of training. And this was like my 28th jump or something like that. So I'd had a few jumps. That's a moderate number as far as military static line jumps go. And so I had some experience. And my decision was, do I ride this in and just know I'm going to hit way fucking harder than normally, or do I pull my reserve? Because everybody's got that reserve parachute right on the front. And this was actually like one of the last few jumps in the 173rd with a T10 Delta chute to kind of date myself a little bit. Not too much, just 5 years, but 6 years, 8 years. When did this shit happen? 2012. 8 years ago. Yeah. So T10 Delta chute, which is the round one, not the new square ones. Not that big of a difference, but the T10 you fall just a little bit faster than the new T11. Well, mine was completely inverted. I was falling way faster, and so I was under the chute, but I mean the wind is rushing much more significantly than the average jump. I had a rucksack right in between my legs. That's where you jump with it, and you have to lower it on a 25-foot lowering line. As soon as I realized the inversion had happened or that something was wrong, I looked around to see the other jumpers in the sky near me, and they were all way above me. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm falling really fast. Look down, see the tree line, notice I'm more than halfway to the ground already. And so I dropped my equipment because I don't want to land with my balls on top of a rucksack. That would be catastrophic with the rucksack frame in between my legs as part of the landing. So I dropped the equipment. It's on the 25-foot lowering line. And then I had the decision to pull my reserve or not. Right there, because I was like, man, I'm falling fast. The problem is, and I can't remember exactly, I might have made this decision about the reserve before the equipment drop, probably, but I realized how fast I was falling, had to make a decision about the reserve. Well, the reserve shoots out in front of you and then catches some wind and inflates. The problem is that if it shoots out and catches the wind really quickly and flaps up into the risers of your partially inflated chute, well, it could tangle everything, and now you no longer have a chute and you lawn dart. So I had about maybe 2 to 5 seconds to weigh my options and risks on pulling my reserve and possibly getting more lift and slowing my rate of descent, or having it possibly tangle in my static lines, risers of my partially inflated main chute, or hold what I got, ride it in, feet, knees together, Godspeed. So I just held what I got. I didn't want to, I made a quick decision that I thought I would, it was survival kind of thing. So I figure I'm falling fast, but I'm not falling fast enough to die. How the fuck I knew that? Who knows? But that's what I thought. I was like, man, I might break my legs on this, but if I pull my reserve and collapse my main chute, I'm going to die. So broken legs, dead. So I made the decision to hold what I got with my main chute, and I rode it in like that, and I managed to not break my legs, but I got a major concussion. I knocked myself out on the landing, but my feet and knees were together like a champion, like a true paratrooper. No broken legs, no broken ankles. I had a combat injury later and got x-rayed in Afghanistan, and they told me I had previously broken my femur, and I was like, ooh, no, I haven't, because I haven't. But I've been hit by a car as well on a bicycle, so it was either this jump where the parachute malfunction happened, or that getting hit by the car, whatever. It was one of those two incidents that caused some form of break in my femur, my left one, I think, yeah, my left one, where it looks like it's knitted together like a actual femur break, but it never actually broke. So something happened, compromised it, and caused it to repair itself. And it was either from that jump or that one time I got hit by a car. So it was a pretty significant impact. Knocked myself out, like I said. I woke up to medics standing over me. And I was probably only out for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, because they saw how fast I was falling. And with paratroopers in the air, you can't have moving vehicles on the drop zone. But people were running towards me as soon as they realized how fast I was falling, and that I didn't pull a reserve. They thought I was dead or severely injured. So they got over there. I had a concussion, but for the next week, I felt like I'd been hit by a car, man. Like my back was just ruined. I mean, tight, in pain, sore. My legs were sore. I was hobbling. I jumped the next week because that's what you do. And I was in command, but it was rough. And so that smushed my back, just to give some more lovely background on why my back is fucked up. But yeah, so lots and lots of ruck marching. I had like 29 or 30 jumps. I think it was 29, one short of senior jump master or something like that. So, and that one jump malfunction, parachute malfunction. I did get hit by a car. I was in the Army. I was in the captain's career course training for an Ironman, and I got hit by a Cadillac Escalade while I was on my bike. That sucked. It was head on. Fucked my bike up and covered me in road rash. May have broken my femur without me knowing it, or cracked something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't analyze the X-rays myself, but so lots of those injuries kind of stack up, and the wear and tear of that job stacks up. I did do a shitload of running when I was in the Army, and I still kind of do some running, but I think years of running beats you back up some. Anyway, major herniated discs. Well, surprisingly enough, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has not been and had an aggravating effect on any of my lumbar disc injuries. I don't know whether it's that the positions I'm in don't compromise my lumbar spine as much. Now, your neck, shit, man, neck gets more sore. I don't know if you can hear me crack that shit in the microphone, but my neck gets more sore every month, I think, or every year. I don't know. Jiu-Jitsu is not good for your neck, but it's not causing me to compromise my lumbar spine to the point where it gets inflamed or hurts. But man, I can't go to Jiu-Jitsu right now. It's the worst part of... That's a terrible thing to say. I can't say it's the worst part of coronavirus because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people dead, many thousands, hundreds of thousands who have contracted this virus. It's the worst part of coronavirus for me. The biggest effect on my life, which shows you how privileged and lucky I am, is that I can't go to jiu-jitsu to train. Now, it's my mental health and source of counseling. It calms the demons, I guess. But it's also an unbelievable workout. You think about different things and why they're such a good workout. Well, CrossFit's a great workout because it's high intensity, pretty much every single workout, right? Like it's varied, it's muscle confusion. It's just a lot of different stuff and varied programming with high intensity. So it's the varied program and the high intensity that make CrossFit great, right? With Jiu-Jitsu, it's constant body weight exercise, right? But the big thing about jiu-jitsu that makes it different as a type of workout or exercise is that you don't get to decide when you rest, right? Every other workout you think of, for the most part, you get some of this vibe in team sports, right? Like if you're on a soccer field and you're playing defense and the other team's on a breakaway and you're right there, like you got to run. You don't get to choose that moment to rest. But with jiu-jitsu, it's one person on one person. There's no like off time in the match, and there's no like balls on the other end of the field and you're chilling, kind of making sure you're in the right position. None of that. It's all you, and the person that your opponent, and their effort, timing, technique, decisions decide much of when and where you get to rest and at what intensity you have to work. Obviously, your game and your strategy and plan play into that as well. And so it's a different kind of workout in that way. I love it. It gets the aggression out. It gets the jitters out. It's exhausting. My house has a sauna in it now. Pretty lucky little tidbit of the house we moved into. So combine jiu-jitsu and the sauna, and I am cool as a cucumber. Easy going as possible. I'm not mean dead, I'll tell you that much. But take jiu-jitsu out of the picture, and I'm searching for other workouts to do. And the workout I did involved a shitload of kettlebell goblet squats. I grabbed a 72-pounder and did, I think it was 100 of them in the workout. Gross. Compromise. There's too much load, too many reps for clearly where I was at, and even though none of them felt particularly horrible, I definitely rounded my back and compromised my form enough that I feel like some shit exploded in there right now. So yeah, how to take yourself from feeling athletic and spry to feeling like 150 years old with a broken back in 100 reps, I guess. One workout. I did a bunch of other shit in that workout, but I think that was the specific movement that caused the problems. I did do some bent over rows with another kettlebell, but I think it was the goblet squats. Fuck, my back hurts. Anyway, not a lot of consequences, considering that the solution is rest, wait, chill till the inflammation goes down, do some mobility and strengthening exercises for the area, and don't be a dumbass with my workout choices. All in the name of being able to go back to jiu-jitsu with some decent fitness, flexibility. Been doing a bunch of stretching in the sauna. Yeah. Hopefully that sauna makes me immune to the coronavirus too. Who knows? Seems to have positive health outcomes. So, we'll see how it goes, but I won't be doing any workouts other than that for probably a week or so, because my back exploded. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out.